Hi everyone. I did some research on laws and policies that affect teaching, and I wanted to share the information that I found with you. The three laws and policies that I'm going to be talking about are the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965, No Child Left Behind, 2001, and Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, 2004. The first one I'm going to be talking about is the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965. It was enacted in April of 1965, less than 3 months after it was introduced, and it was the most expensive federal education bill ever passed. It was part of President Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty. The purpose of this act is to provide federal funding for elementary and secondary education, and it supports the establishment of a national curriculum. It was mainly created to increase equality in education and to also hold schools accountable for equality in education. It has been reauthorized many times, such as the Education Consolidation and Improvement Act of 1981, Improving America's Schools Act of 1994, and the most current reauthorization is the No Child Left Behind of 2001, which I will be talking about in a little bit. Children of low-income families are covered, and this includes neglected children, homeless children, and children with limited English. It aims to provide for their long-term welfare by improving schools and resources available to them. When it was first passed, there was an achievement gap because of race and poverty, so it set goals to measure the progress of students and aims to close that gap. There are 6 different parts of this act that I wanted to talk about, and the first one will be Title I. Its purpose is to increase test scores and encourage development. It provides provisions to distribute funding. A school with more than 40% of its students classified as low income by the U.S. government qualifies for Title I. Since Title I was put in place, the funding has increased from $2 billion to $25 billion, and this is due to the growing number of schools. The federal government sets the provisions and guidelines in order to preserve funding. Title II provides federal funding for stocking libraries, the purchase of textbooks, or other instructional materials. Title III creates supplementary education centers to provide students with greater options for education improvements, and this is also for the outside of school. Title IV provides funding for collegiate research into improving training and instruction in all schools. Title V strengthens the authority of state departments of education and assigns funding. It compels state authority to support local reform efforts, and specific grants are made for foreign language, gifted students, and arts programs. Title VI extends provisions to handicapped children. I think that this act is important for education. It has many different components that could be beneficial to teachers and students, such as providing welfare for low-income children, and it improves schools. It includes a variety of different aspects that support education. For example, in Title I through Title VI, it describes how it supports collegiate research, it provides welfare for handicapped children, and it also helps stock libraries. So it covers a lot of different aspects that support education, and I think that's really important. The next act that I'm going to talk about is the No Child Left Behind, 2001. Like I said before, this is the most recent version of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. It covers many federal education programs, but a lot of focus is put on testing, accountability, and school improvement. NCLB requires states to test students in reading and math every year in grades 3 through 8 and once in grades 10 through 12. It also requires states to test science once in grades 3 through 5, 6 through 8, and 10 through 12. Schools must publicly report test results, and they must make adequate yearly progress, which means they must meet the target requirements that are set by NCLB. There are waivers that are set in place by NCLB. Wisconsin, along with 42 other states, DC, some Carolina school districts, Puerto Rico, and the Bureau of Indian Education applied for a waiver from targets and requirements of the No Child Left Behind. In 2011, Obama announced that they would allow states to request for flexibility in some requirements. In order to receive flexibility through a waiver, states needed to demonstrate that they would implement a series of reforms. These reforms are to create college and career-ready standards and assessments that measure student achievement and growth, a differentiated accountability system that both recognizes high-achieving, high-progress schools and supports low-achieving, low-progress schools, and also a teacher and principal evaluation and support systems to improve instruction. Some states have struggled with implementing these policies, but despite that, waivers will probably continue until a new reauthorization is made. Schools that fail to make progress for 2 consecutive years are identified for school improvement, and this means they must devote at least 10% of their federal funds to teacher professional development. After 3 years, corrective action is taken and interventions are designed to improve school performance. After 4 years, they are identified for restructuring and more interventions are put in place. After 5 years, they reconstitute school staff or leadership, and other major changes are made, such as converting it to a charter school or bringing in a private management company. NCLB provides parents with information about how students, schools, and school districts are performing because they seek to empower parents by keeping them involved. Parents also receive annual school report cards, and these report cards describe school and student performance. Teachers are also really important in the No Child Left Behind Act. All teachers must be highly qualified, and this means they need to be fully certified by their state or that they have passed the state licensure exam. They need to be able to demonstrate their knowledge through credentials or test scores, and parents have the right to know of their child's teacher's qualifications, like if they have their state licensure, what their undergraduate major was, or if they have any other degrees like a master's degree or a PhD. I think that the NCLB has good intentions, but I think it's a little strict. The fact that states need waivers, I think, is a red flag. If some states are having trouble meeting targets and requirements, I think that means there needs to be some changes made. I know I said that I like the ESEA and that this is a reauthorization of the SEA, but I think there could be a reauthorization better and more effective than the NCLB that isn't as difficult for educators to meet the target. The last act that I'm going to be talking about is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, 2004. Before 1975, a majority of the almost 4 million children with disabilities were denied meaningful participation in public education. This was brought to attention by Park v. PA in 1971 and Mills v. Board of Education in 1972, and this caused the courts to establish the right of children with disabilities to free and appropriate education. IDEA includes 4 parts, Part A, B, C, and D. Before I talk about Parts A through D, I wanted to discuss what is classified as a disability, because there are some debates on what a disability is. So IDEA covers disabilities that are diagnosed as, but not limited to, ADHD, autism, deafness, blindness, traumatic brain injury, and speech or language impairment. So Part A describes the general provisions of the Act. It ensures that services to children with disabilities throughout the nation. It governs how states provide early intervention, special education, and related services. Children and youth which is ages 3 to 21 years, receive special education under IDEA, and infants and toddlers, which is birth to 2 years, receive early intervention under IDEA. Part B, which is children and youth, authorizes the state to grant programs and specifies the conditions for receiving funds. States must provide free, appropriate public education to all disabled students. This means provided at a public expense, under public supervision, and without charge, and they must meet the standards of the state education agency. It is also important that the students are in the least restrictive environment possible. This means that they need to be in a classroom with their peers under normal circumstances. Part C focuses on infants and toddlers birth to 2 years. It helps infants and toddlers with developmental delays or who have been diagnosed with physical or mental conditions with high probability of resulting in developmental delays. Final regulations provide states with flexibility in some areas while ensuring state accountability to improve results and providing services for infants and toddlers with disabilities. The goal of this section of this act is to ensure that such children are ready for preschool and kindergarten. Part D describes the national activities to be undertaken to improve the education of children with disabilities. It includes grants to improve the education and transitional services. It provides resources such as support groups and projects, and also activities that contribute to positive results. I think IDEA is a really great policy that can help students and educators. I think early intervention is really important to prepare young students with disabilities, to help them get ready for their future in education, and for teachers to understand how to educate students with disabilities. They may learn differently, so it's important for a teacher to understand how to teach them in a non-restrictive classroom and to keep them involved with their peers. It may raise questions, it may raise a debate on what is classified as a disability, because I know there is an ongoing issue about if children are being overly medicated or if they're being misdiagnosed. But I don't think that this will overlook the really great aspects of this policy. So that was my presentation. I really hope you enjoyed the information I presented and that you learned something new. Thank you for listening.